the school funding is particularly, I think, interesting because they kept the funding for most of these programs. They just removed the earmarks. At least that's my understanding of this. And so, it's you get the funds for free school lunch, you get the funds for some of these programs, but no obligation to actually deliver these things to your students. No obligation. And I think, when you look at school districts that are struggling, which several are, I mean, you're in a situation where folks are going to have to make decisions about paying faculty, paying administrators, upkeep on buildings, all these things that are becoming harder and harder for a lot of school districts to do. You see schools districts downsizing, closing buildings, making them choose between feeding their kids and keeping up on their facilities is just, it doesn't seem to be actually addressing any problems and only delivering a mechanism for some students to receive unfair treatment and harm, frankly, from these kinds of cuts.
Yeah, and so it's even worse too, because the way that categoricals function is school districts have to qualify for them.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did is what I'm pretty sure they wanted to do is they wanted to show a big per pupil increase.
Yeah,
and
which
so
they are
the only
bragging
way
about. Sorry,
exactly. You're right, though, and the only way you can do that without raising revenue or something like that, which they're never going to do, is you have to start bucketing the categorical money into the per pupil. So then they put out their budget and they say we're giving a record increase to per pupil funding. Well, the problem is if you're an at-risk school district, like let's say Benton Harbor in my area, in my district, Benton Harbor is losing student enrollment year over year. So you can increase per pupil funding as much as you want, but it's a race to the bottom as you're trying to increase this per pupil funding, where the categoricals are huge for them because they have an at-risk population. They have a low third grade reading rate. They have all this stuff that helps them qualify for assistance for meals and reading and mental health support, all this stuff that the population needs. And then on the other side of that coin, you have school districts like New Buffalo and Saugatuck, for instance, that are out of formula. Because their property taxes or revenue is so high. So they don't receive the per pupil the same way, which means they rely on the categoricals to fund this stuff because they're out of formula. So they've somehow managed to do something that hurts both the most at risk and least at risk school districts at the same time, which is fascinating. Honestly, they figured out how to do that.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan is spinning in his grave thinking, man, I could have done so much more. I could have somehow stratified both sides of it and made it even worse.
And they effectively unified the superintendents, the school boards, and the teachers union, which never happens. All three of those groups came together and were like, this budget sucks.